everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on our Meet a Fellow, first Meet a Fellow night of the season. My name is Darrell Myers, a community coordinator here in TRQ in the Pathways office with New York City Public Schools. And I have a whole bunch of qualified, experienced fellows who are here today to teach you about this amazing program, more specifically about their own personal experiences within this program. And our goal is to teach you about the New York City Teaching Fellows through the lens of people that were involved in our program as fellows themselves. This session will function as more of a targeted Q&A event with opportunity for you, the audience, to ask questions along the way. Now, in our info sessions, we don't always have enough time to get to your questions. Heck, even tonight, we may not have enough time to get to all of your questions, but we wanted to dedicate a special night to all of your questions, and we wanted the people answering them to be people who have lived through an experience that you guys hopefully will experience this upcoming summer. My name, again, is Darrell Myers. I work in the Office of Teacher Recruitment and Quality, and I'll be your facilitator for tonight's session. And we will get right to our introductions in a minute. But before we begin, we just have a few things to note, just a couple of housekeeping rules. Now, look, our teaching recruiters will be sharing valuable information about their experiences and their insights into the program. I encourage you to take notes, but if you miss anything at all, no worries. We will send you a recording of this session so that you can review it at your own pace. Now, you are welcome to share this recording with anyone you know who may be interested. In fact, we encourage you to do so. To anybody who was interested and wasn't able to attend tonight, or maybe heard about this a little after the fact. Thankfully, we have the recording so you can send it to them. And as I mentioned before, you are able to drop questions. Actually, I don't think I said this. I will open up questions, but also feel free to write your questions in the chat, because while I'm speaking, our dedicated fellows and teaching recruiters are going to respond to you both verbally and in the chat. So you can put them in the chat, and we will take a brief moment during the presentation to pause, see if there's any commonly asked questions, any questions we want to tackle. But yes, please put them in the chat because we will not be activating everyone's microphones and video cameras. They will all go in the chat. We'll be taking additional time to address some of your pending questions at the end of the session, time permitting. And we encourage you to take some time after today's session to explore our online support center and the many articles offered there. A lot of questions you asked tonight will already have answers posted on our site or our online support center. And if you're unable to find answers to your questions in our online support center or application guide, or tonight, maybe we can't get to your specific question or cater to your specific need, we encourage you to reach us through our contact form where our team will be able to address your questions or concerns directly. So you can go on the Fellows website. You can write us on Zendesk. We'll also provide you an email on Zendesk where you can write to us directly. And if we need any transcripts, any pertinent information that specifically pertains to you, we will have time to address that on Zendesk if we can get to it tonight. Okay, so we're going to go over some of our goals for this evening. All right, so our goals, now look, for those of you who have tuned into one or both of our previous information sessions of the season, you'll notice that we'll be doing things a tad bit different here tonight. And I say that because we have a lot of people who repeatedly come and get our info. You know, they've been on one info session, then a second, then a third, because they definitely want to get that live feel, that information again and again. For those of you who have been with us before, you may see that things are a tad bit different tonight, because this night is centered around hearing stories and lived experiences from fellows and alumni so that you can get a true sense of whether the New York City Teaching Fellows program is the best fit for you. Because let's be honest, we all have different situations. We all have life going on. And right now, this may not be the program for you, or may not be the program for you at this time. We tonight are going to help you make that decision yourself by giving you real life experience and answers to your questions. So this is our opportunity to shine a light on and give a voice to all of the experiences our fellows have gained, many of which you might find yourselves in on this journey to certification. Now, lastly, unlike our general information sessions, we won't be providing a comprehensive in-depth overview of all of our information on the Teaching Fellows. You can please join us on our info session, look at one of our previously recorded info sessions, or again, check us out on the online support center where we have FAQs and all the things fellows that you would need to know. So let's just get right into it, y'all. The application is open now. Our next early action deadline, our first one is December 19th. And if you haven't submitted your application yet, we highly recommend submitting so before the next deadline so that your application is reviewed in a timely manner. Now, I will say it is in your best interest to apply sooner rather than later, as some subject areas can fill up quickly and may not be available later in the application season. Well, what does that mean? That means that if you apply in February of 2026 instead of December of 2025. If you apply in February and the subject area you want is full, we already have all the candidates we need for that, then you won't be able to get it. That's why it's important it's in your best interest to apply earlier. That way there's more space. It's more feasible for us to cater to your preference so you can get the subject area that you want. So please don't drag your feet. I struggle with procrastination too. I get it, but get this application in as soon as you can, because you'll be thankful to yourself for it in the later months. We advise for you to prepare all your materials before you apply. Okay, so what does that mean? That means if you need a course by course evaluation, if you don't have your transcripts, if you aren't sure what credit allotment you have, like, you get all of that information first before you apply, so there's no holds ups on your application being submitted, so that we can actually get a good look at you. Priority deadline applicants who are selected into the program can also begin enrollment in job search activities in advance of other applicants. What does that mean? That means that if you submitted your application early and it got reviewed early and you got interviewed early and you went through selection day early, that means that you're way further along submitting by the December deadline than you would be as opposed to somebody who submitted in March. So it works better for you the earlier you get it, is my point. In the meantime, you can use the QR code right here at the top to view the essay questions you'll be asked in the application. And we cannot emphasize enough that your responses to these questions will be evaluated and are used to determine whether you will go on to the next stage of the application process. And we would advise you to put some time and thought into your answers before submitting your applications. And I love this because I don't know about you, but I've been in class so many times where the teacher's like, don't worry, y'all, this essay question is not going to be on the test. And who's the first person to greet me as soon as the test gets on my desk? The essay questions the teacher told me wasn't going to be there. I'm like, Mr. Jones, why are you doing me like that, man? You know, thankfully, we are telling all of you that these are the essay questions that will be on. So you have time to practice, to refine your answers, to ask a peer to review it or a colleague to review it. Hey, does this sound good? Does it sound articulate? Like, we don't want you to not use your own words. We want to give you the best opportunity you can to shine a voice to your name, so you're not just a name on a page. We are speaking to thousands and thousands of applicants, and sometimes it's very easy for a name to get lost, and we don't want anybody to get lost. We want to know who you are, what's your personality like, how do you feel about teaching, what are your interests, just who are you, so we can get a fair understanding of your qualifications and whether or not you'd be a good fit. All right. And there will be a mailing list provided to you at the end of this slideshow. So if you want to stay abreast on what's going on with the fellows, what are the deadlines, what are the new information, you can sign up for our mailing list so that you get updates and you don't move a beat. So I'm going to pause right here and let me see how those questions are looking. Okay, great. Not too many so far. So we're going to keep it going. All right, so this is our agenda. So we're going to meet the panelists, go over the program. We're going to ask the panelists, why New York City Teaching Fellows? What made you join? Where were you when you joined? What factors contributed to whether or not you would join? What was your life like? Because one thing about all prospective fellows, which I love, is that we're all from different industries, different walks of life, different nations, different points in our lives. Some of us are 18, some of us are in our 60s, some of us have been to school and got double masters, just not in education. Some of us have just completed a BA. Some of us are leaving a whole industry we've been in for 10 years, and some of us are just getting started in one. And this is what I love. And you get to hear about the vastness of the fellows experiences, which we're looking forward to tonight. Eligibility requirements, timeline and training, subject areas and choices, life in New York City public schools, and of course, some more live Q&A. So let's just get into who is on the line tonight. So we have Catherine, Elizabeth, Melissa, and Jalika. These are our amazing fellows on the line right now who are going to be answering your questions in the chat, answering your questions on camera, and you're going to get a chance to meet them. Okay, so here, boom, boom, boom. So overview, let's get into it. The New York City Teaching Fellows, for those of you who may not know and got invited by a friend, or maybe saw a banner or some kind of marketing, we'll tell you what it is. The New York City Teaching Fellows is an alternative certification program managed by New York City Public Schools. Let's begin with an overview on what alternative certification programs even are. So there are consistent benefits to earning your certification through an alternative teacher certification program. While you are enrolled in an alt-cert program, that's what we call them for short, alt-cert, you can teach full-time through what New York State calls a transitional B certification. Alternative certification programs fill a need for teacher talent in high-demand certification areas and communities, most of which happen to be in the Bronx and Brooklyn in New York City. That does not mean all of them, it's just most of them. The first component is the pre-service training, which allows you to gain hands-on experience in a real classroom prior to teaching full-time. So before we put you in the classroom, you will get hands-on experience throughout pre-service training. Alternative certification programs also partner with universities to offer participants a master's degree that is partially paid for by the program. That, yes, you get a subsidized master's degree with one of our university program and partners, and we have hundreds of them. Lastly, these programs allow you to teach full-time while you complete your master's degree in education and other certification components. The programs also offer job search supports so that you can find a full-time teaching placement that will allow you to have significant impact in your certification area. So yes, I know many of you heard that we do assist in job search support. Some people ask, well, you know, am I guaranteed a job? No, we assist in job search support. The hiring decision is ultimately up to the principal, and we cannot force them to hire you. But what we will do is give you supports to show that you are qualified, skill building workshops, resume writing workshops. We have networking events where you get to meet with coaches and meet with principals and really be your full self and show how qualified you really are. We will assist you all the way, but it is ultimately up to you. And to summarize, alternative teacher preparation programs, or alt-cert programs, allow you to be employed as a full-time teacher while you complete your teaching certification requirements to earn initial teaching certification in New York State. And that's one of the highlights of the program. You are going to teach while learning and being certified in teaching. You do not have to wait. And so I'm going to open up the floor to our fellows, and you guys can answer in whichever way you would like. Because I want to take a moment to pose the following questions to our panelists. Now, many of the questions, again, asked tonight have been asked by prospective fellows already repeatedly throughout several recruitment seasons, and I have no doubt that everyone on the call tonight will benefit from them as well. So I'm going to give a minute for our fellows to answer the questions, to introduce themselves, and to our fellows, whichever order you go in. I just ask that, you know, you introduce yourself with your name, what your subject certification is, and then if you can answer the questions on screen. Number one, what were you doing before the Teaching Fellows, and what led you here? If you can remember, some of them have been fellows a long time ago, so just think back to day one, actually day zero. What were you doing before the Teaching Fellows, and what led you there? And also, what were some of your reservations when considering applying, and how did you overcome them? So the floor is open to our teaching recruiters. Anyone who wants to tackle this first, feel free.
I can start. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine. I teach science, so my certification is in chemistry and general science for grades 7 through 12. I'm currently teaching 7th and 8th grade at a middle school in Manhattan, and this is my 14th year in the classroom. So before doing fellows, I was doing long-term volunteer program right out of college. I had intentions of studying medicine, and then throughout college, I just decided I didn't really want to do that. So I joined a long-term volunteer program, kind of as a interim to figure out what was next for me. As part of this long-term volunteer program, there were a lot of placements in schools and programs that supported with social services. And I said, please do not put me in a classroom. Don't put me in a school. So they placed me in an after-school mentoring and tutoring program. And through that work, I became really interested in what the students I was serving were experiencing during their school day, because I saw them after school hours. And that really kind of sparked an interest in me to become a teacher and have an impact on the school day experience that kids might be having. So I think teaching found me in a lot of ways, because it was something I was really adamantly against for a very long time. Even like my friends and family were like, "Oh, really? You're going to apply to this?" Because I was so anti-teaching before. So, you know, I think if you're here, then maybe there's a spark in you or an interest. So I would encourage you to kind of pursue that and see if, you know, it kind of lands, because now 14 years later, I really can't imagine doing any other work. So yes.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, Catherine, for that. I'm telling you guys, we have people from every industry joining the fellows and just changing lives up. So to any of one of our other teacher recruiters that want to tackle that, like, what were you doing before the fellows and what led you here?
I can go next. My name is Elizabeth. What I was doing before the New York City Teacher Fellows, I was working in a nonprofit. I was a field ecologist at a nonprofit in a park in New York City, Randall's Island Park. And there I had already experienced informal education, like taking kids on field trips and giving tours throughout the park and such. And, you know, if you're already in a nonprofit world, you know, the other clerical duties, admin duties that you do, communication outreach, community outreach and stuff. And in 2020, I had left that job and, you know, the height of COVID and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? And I had a friend who was already in the fellowship program, and she recommended, like, hey, you know, you're already working with kids and you really like what you do. Why don't you become a teacher? And so she recommended it to me, and I applied, and I'm here now. Some reservations that I had before applying was, in the process of applying, I was temping at some real estate company. I don't remember the name. And I was like, is this for me? Like, you know, I had never had a city job before. I had never been part of the pension system or, you know, in a part of a union or anything. And so it just felt like I was entering the beast, you know, like, is this really what I want to be a part of? And I have no regrets joining it. I feel like I'm contributing to my community, and I feel like I overcame this with the help of my other fellows that I was a part of in the cohort. I was at Pace University for the dual cert program for science and special education. And we really, like, I still speak with them all the time, several times a month. And it's a really great community that we leverage each other on.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Elizabeth. I really appreciate that. And one of the keywords that you said that stuck out to me was support. Guys, one thing about this program is that you have tons and tons of support and individuals who you can lean on that want to see you win. Now, I see my man Jalik is on the call. How you doing, Jalik?
I'm doing all right, Darrell. Good to see everybody.
Good, man. Good.
So real quick with me. So I'm from Brooklyn, right? I went to New York City public schools. I went to Brooklyn College. I majored in business. You know, when I was a kid, I used to like to be the teacher. You know, I know that sounds corny, but I like to be the teacher. But that was my only sort of experience teaching at all. But I went to business. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was in my senior year at Brooklyn College, was on the F train at Stillwell Avenue, and I saw the banner, something like "Change your life, be a teacher." And I said, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me just put my application in and I'll see what happens. I put it in. I was accepted. And one thing led to another. And here we are 22 years later. I've been a middle school math teacher. Now I'm working in Manhattan. and it's been great. I met my wife in my first school, and it's been a great experience. So, I'm just really, I haven't done anything else really other than teach. I wasn't planning on teaching, but here I am, and I'm loving it. So it's not easy work, but it's very rewarding work.
Look at that. I love that, man. Like, look, the fellows are even helping people find their spouse. Now, we'll never promote that on a billboard, but anything can happen, y'all. All right. He got a new career and the love of his life. This is awesome. Melissa, come on, let's hear your story. Thank you so much for sharing, guys.
So I came through the fellows via Ohio, actually. After graduating from college, I was substitute teaching for middle school, high school, and elementary school. But I didn't have my master's program. And so I knew after substitute teaching, I'm like, I really kind of want to be a full-time teacher. And so I was looking for master's programs. And what really drew me to the fellows program was that the master's was subsidized, right? So I didn't have to pay the full amount. I applied, and one of the considerations or the reservations was I would have to move to New York City. I think I'd been there like once before. But as Elizabeth said, like once I moved to the city and I was in the fellows cohort, everyone just kind of like was really supportive, not only in the classroom, but also just kind of like all around, going uptown, downtown, and everything. And I thought when I first started the fellows program that I was going to, be in the city for 2 years, get my master's program and go back. 22 years later, I'm still in the first school that I started at, and I still love every day that I go to school.
Was that the second time I heard 22 tonight?
22, cohort 8.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, man.
And Darrell, can I say one other thing, please?
What's up?
My reservation, I forgot to tell you guys that my reservation when applying to be a teacher was, remember, I was like 21 years old. So, I looked like I was 12 at the time. So I said, there's no way in the world students are going to take me seriously. So the way I overcame that reservation was every day I had like a tie on and a button-down shirt and everything, just to sort of look older. That's just the one thing I remember. Now I look a little older, but yeah, that was my reservation.
Yeah. You got a little facial hair from the headshot you sent me. I see. I know you got a clean shave right now. Grown up a little bit. Yeah. If you can, Catherine, what was one of your hesitations, if you can remember?
So yeah, I was moving. I did my long-term volunteer program in Wisconsin, so I was moving back to New York City. So I had a little bit of a network here, but I think my reservation was just I had been volunteering, so finances was a big concern for me. I didn't have a ton of savings, right? I graduated and then I started my long-term volunteer program right away. So just, thinking ahead and planning ahead and relying on my network to support with the financial aspects. So if that's something you're concerned about, I hear that. Remember, this is like a very kind of short experience, and then the rewards on the other side are really amazing. So if you're able to make that work, then, I would definitely encourage you to seek out the support where it's available to you.
Awesome. And guys, thank you so much for sharing that. The reason we ask for these fellows experiences is because they've gone through real life stuff. Like, these are real life situations. This isn't just some arbitrary thing that might have been in a brochure, but these are situations that many of us, especially as New Yorkers or folks moving to New York or coming to New York, have or will experience. And so it's very important for us to not only hear their stories, but hear how they overcame them. Because if you're anything like me, when you think about the future, sometimes it could seem so big that, it feels like the future is going to swallow, but we're having situations like this, calls like this, remind you that it's possible. Other people have gone through it, and you too can overcome it. So with that, we're gonna keep this ball rolling. Thank you so much to our presenters. You will hear more from them, guys. But with that, I will pass this along to my colleague, Jacob. So Jacob, feel free to take it away, brother.
Sorry about the delay waiting for my camera to turn on. There we go. How you doing, everybody? My name is Jacob Urena, and I'm a community coordinator out of the office of TRQ, Teacher Recruitment and Quality with Darrell. I had my camera off because I'm not one of the lovely alumni, so I try to let the alumni shine and hide in the back. But let's get started in presentation. Let me close this. Sorry. Don't need to show everyone my jackets, but anyways. So as mentioned before, so I get this straight. We're going to go a little bit more into what the eligibility requirements are for the program, what that looks like, and kind of what to expect when you're applying. So all applicants must meet basic eligibility criteria to successfully begin our application process. And let's take a few moments to review what that criteria is for our 2026 program. So for starters, a bachelor's degree is mandatory, that is required. You must have a completed bachelor's degree by May 31st, 2026 to qualify. So if you have your bachelor's, if you're working your bachelor's and you're graduating this semester or the next, you still qualify for the program. As long as you graduate by May 31st, 2026, you're all set to go. Undergraduate GPA, ideally your cumulative undergraduate GPA would be at least a 3.0 to be one of the more competitive applicants. But in terms of requirements, as long as you have a 2.5 or above, you can apply. If your GPA is less than a 2.5, you can still apply, but you will need to submit a mandatory GPA statement. And that statement is your opportunity to kind of explain why your GPA was below a 2.5 for your bachelor's and why you think that you would perform better in graduate coursework. Our GPA requirements align with our partner schools and our partner graduate programs that we work with. So they have this requirement and we comply with that as well. But they do give us the opportunity to allow you all to submit your GPA statement, to explain to them why you think you would perform better in graduate coursework in comparison to your undergrad, because typically that's a considerable step in terms of coursework. Moving on, work authorization is a big one as well. Our program does not sponsor candidates, so you must be a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, or have work authorization valid through July 2028. I know that's a tricky area, so if you have questions about that, please go to our online support center at nycteachingfellows.net/Zendesk, because that's where we can give you the real inside scoop and make sure we're giving you the most accurate answer with the information that we have at the time. Another eligibility requirement is that applicants must have no prior teaching certifications. So if you have a teaching certification, if you've been working towards one and you completed a program that sets you up for one, if your undergraduate degree is in education and leads to a certification, you would be ineligible. This program is specifically for people that do not have any teaching experience or any kind of teaching educational background that leads to a certification. We are expecting applicants to not have to not be set up to get any teacher certifications prior to joining the program. And as well with that, that goes the same for no previous teacher preparation. So if you did like Teach for America or any of the other alternative certification programs that are offered from New York City Public Schools, if you did those, even if you didn't complete it, but if you got into the program and began it, you would be ineligible for this program, as you've technically already had previous teacher preparation. You've already previously completed a program that leads to teacher certification, so that makes you ineligible. And then lastly is the English language fluency. You must be able to speak, read, and write fluently in English. And if you are unsure about if you meet any of these basic eligibility criteria, we still encourage you to apply, because we'll clarify that in the application process, if anything. And as always, our selectors will review your information to see if you meet our program's requirements. And you can also, like mentioned probably a million times already this meeting, you can ask us any of these questions at our support center. So don't forget to use that resource. That's really where you can get personalized support from people that work on the team. And we see those questions directly, so don't worry about it being spam or like a computer response. You're getting our words personally. All right, and then, oh my God, sorry. Moving on to, oh, you can go to the next slide, Doria. Moving on to the program timeline overview. This is a pretty clear synopsis of what the timeline of the program is. It'll start in summer 2026, and then you'll go into school year 1, school year 2, and then after school year 2 and beyond. By that end of that third school year, typically fellows have completed their master's, so they're doing their own thing, completed the program, have their full-time teacher cert. But let's go a little bit more in depth into what that looks. So in June 2026 is when participants will begin their training in a New York City public school classroom. And for the summer, you'll be working under the guidance of an experienced coach, a mentor teacher who has demonstrated effectiveness in high need schools. So during this summer period, you'll also receive a stipend, because it's a pretty full-time workload for the summer with the trainings and getting ready for the upcoming school year. So we do provide a stipend for the summer trainings to compensate fellows for their time served for the summer. Throughout the 7 weeks of pre-service training, fellows gradually take on more classroom responsibilities, planning and delivering instruction, And it also pairs along with skill building sessions that we have. And these skill building sessions allow you to develop, practice, and kind of refine the skills needed to be an effective teacher by that upcoming fall. And obviously we know teaching is a learning curve, but those summer trainings are meant to kind of give you that initial training and experience and really kind of hone you so that when September comes around, you feel more prepared and you feel more comfortable with being a full-time New York City Public Schools teacher. After training, you'll start a full-time teaching position under a transitional B license, and this allows you to teach while completing your initial teacher certification. So you'll still receive support and guidance to help secure your placement in September 2026. In the fall, fellows will begin teaching full-time, and they'll also begin graduate coursework towards their master's degree in education. I want to emphasize that the master's degree is in education, and it will be related to the subject area that you are selected for. So continuing through your first 2 years of teaching, you'll still be teaching full-time and taking that graduate coursework. Most fellows complete their degree within that 2 to 3 year span that's shown on the slide in the overview. Most fellows do finish their degree within that time, and after which you do finish your degree, you will apply for your initial certification, which will basically allow you to be eligible to become a full-time New York City Public Schools teacher within your certification area. So that's kind of the step-by-step of how this program will get you to go from having no teacher experience to becoming a full-time certified New York City Public Schools teacher with a master's in education by the end of the 3-year timeline. Moving on to the next slide.
Just real quick, Jacob, I just want to take a time to pause and see if there were any questions.
Yeah, for sure.
That you or the teacher recruit, well, I know you didn't because you were presented, but any of the teacher recruiters, have you guys seen any kind of questions? One thing that I do want to address, like Jacob said, this is a master's in education. So if you're saying, hey, I already got my master's in engineering, or I already got my master's in cosmetology or whatever, yes, you will have to get an additional master's in education. That is what will qualify you to get your initial certification.
I'm seeing a question about, will the stipend be handed out at the end of the summer, or will it be dispersed throughout the summer? I'm trying to see, well, whatever, I have to read that part. For the stipend, typically it's dispersed throughout the course of the summer. That's how we do it to avoid, obviously we don't want to give anyone their stipend in the beginning and then they choose not to follow through with the program because there's no way to, amend that. But typically the stipends are dispersed throughout the summer. That way it's a gradual income. In terms of stipend amount, that has not been specified yet. But when that is specified and set, we will obviously relay that to everyone. It will be all over our website. And, if you're part of our mailing list, you'll get first information about that as well.
There's several questions about, which is crazy in my opinion, people taking master's classes in other schools at the same time as getting master's in education through the fellowship.
Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you please while you're in the program. If you want to take a different master's, coursework for yourself, that's fine. If we're talking about in terms of taking separate coursework from a different program to, and somehow expedite your master's degree in education, that wouldn't be possible. As Darrell mentioned before, even if you're taking master's coursework, if you're already in one or you already completed one, it is, in terms of completing the education master's, it is irrelevant. None of those credits will transfer over. None of that coursework will transfer over for this program, because this program will put you in a specific graduate coursework based on your subject area with one of our partner schools. So it will be a completely independent graduate experience. Again, if you want to take other coursework for your own personal reasons, you're perfectly allowed to, you're perfectly free to, but that will be completely separate from the program. It won't benefit the program. It won't expedite the program. That'll be your own thing. But you'll be pretty busy working full-time as a teacher and taking the coursework. So I don't recommend that in terms of balancing work life, school life, and personal life, but the choice is yours.
Yes, and to Jacob's point, I will also go on to say that if you did find the time to take other classes, towards any other masters, you're more than able to do that. However, the fellows will not, your stipend will not go towards the classes that are not necessary or crucial to your education in this program.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing a couple questions too about what the job search is like during the summer. So we give an in-depth rundown of that during our info sessions, which you can watch the recording or join us next time, but I will give a quick answer just for clarity. In terms of the job search and the summer training and the graduate program, quick synopsis. So for the graduate program and the summer training, fellows do not get freedom to select where they'll be enrolled or where they'll be stationed. We select that based on your subject area and best fit from there. And for the graduate program, same thing. We select that based on your subject area, as it's very specific graduate coursework, and it's dependent on our partner schools and kind of what they offer and where's the availability. In terms of when you are gearing up for your full-time placement at the end of the summer, and you're selecting a school where you will teach full-time after you completed the summer, you do have freedom and support to select your school then. We offer job search support, and we'll get a little bit into that later, but we do help you along the way throughout the summer so that you can have the freedom and comfort to interview, network, and decide what school is the best fit for you to start teaching full-time. So in that realm, you do have freedom, you do have control over that. In terms of the summer training, the graduate program, and where your summer training will be, that will be deemed by the program dependent on your subject area and your criteria. Do you see any other questions you think we should put on blast, Darrell?
Yes.
Or
Several questions. If they were a teacher in a charter school, or if they were a teacher in another country.
Yeah, so Darrell, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about the other country, because I'm whatever, but if you're a teacher in a charter school or anywhere else in the country, two things. If you, especially for charter schools, because I know there's different rules. If you do not hold a teacher certification and you did not get your bachelor's in an education-related degree that leads to a certification, you are still eligible. Now, if you didn't get your certification because you're teaching at charter, but you got your bachelor's in, let's say, childhood education leading to a certification, but you just chose not to do it, Darrell, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you would be eligible.
No, you're on the right track. Yeah, and that it wouldn't be your job that would disqualify you. It would be your undergrad BA, given that you are already studying to become a teacher.
Absolutely. So the job does not matter as long as you do not hold any certifications and you did not get your bachelor's in a degree that leads to a certification, you are fine to go. It does not matter if you taught at charter. And for international, for international part two of that question, same thing. As long as you don't hold any American teacher certifications, you did not get an American bachelor's in education that leads to a certification, you are still eligible to apply.
Okay, thank you. I think we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we'll have time for the fellows to give their insight as well and give a little bit more in depth. Perfect. So now that we've briefly discussed eligibility and the program timeline, we're going to open the floor to our recruiters on call tonight to speak a little bit more in depth about their training experience. So got some questions up on the screen. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during training? How did you manage that? How did you balance the workload doing teaching full-time and handling your graduate coursework? And then lastly, what tips do you have for candidates considering the program? Is there anything you would have done differently when you first joined the program? So let's start at that first question. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during training, and how did you manage that? I'm going to open the floor to all of our lovely alumni.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth again. Some of the first challenges that I faced, I think was the time management at first, and then also, I guess just like learning to be vulnerable, right? Like it was, when you join this program, everyone that you speak to wants to help you, right? And everyone you speak to wants to support you and they want to watch you succeed. And just learning to accept the feedback that you're given and implement as much of it as possible, I think was one of the bigger challenges that I had to face, right? And just realize that people want to help me and I don't know everything, right? And also I think juggling learning how to find your teacher voice and learning how to be your own teacher on top of everything that you're going through with grad school and your observations and you're working with your coach at your school, just figuring out your style of teaching. I think that was the biggest challenge for me.
For me, it was the training. I mean, it was actually transportation, getting from like in the summertime, it was getting from my school that I taught at in the morning to my graduate school in the afternoon, because again, I just graduated from college. I didn't have a lot of money, and I didn't have a car, and the transportation between the two places was difficult by public transportation. The way I overcame it, thankfully, there were other fellows in my same summer training program that were able to allow me to tag along carpool with them to bring me to the graduate school. So that was my biggest thing, was the transportation part.
I want to piggyback off that quickly too, to ask for everyone as well. Do you feel like that's like a common trend? Like, was it common that the fellows that you were enrolled in with kind of band together to kind of just help each other get it done and make it through?
Yes, definitely. Like you need to, like we have my whole cohort, it was about maybe 35 people. It was very small because it was one of the dual cert programs. I think there's much more now. And this was 6 years ago. Make a WhatsApp group, right? Exchange emails, exchange phone numbers. Like everyone is in the same boat when you're in grad school, and everyone is flying by the seat of their pants the first year, right? And the first 2 years in the program. So definitely leverage support from your classmates.
Perfect. And then we can segue into that second question. Kind of how did you all balance the workload of teaching full time and then going to that graduate coursework? Because I know teaching full time is already a long day. So how do you balance that and then handling schools? What was that like? And I'm going to pass it over to Melissa or Catherine first.
And a lot
Yeah,
of people actually been asking about that in the chat.
Yeah, so one of the things I like about the Fellows program is that the cohort model, I think, really does well. I'm a Spanish teacher in high school, and my cohort were all Spanish teachers. And so even though we were doing graduate work, all of the work that we were doing for our grad school was applicable in our, schools during the day. And so if we were, perfecting a lesson plan, that lesson plan, we could, turn it and use it in the class the next week or so. And so I think that was one of the things that was really helpful balancing workload, because all of the high school Spanish teachers, we would kind of share our lessons. And that was really good support. So you're definitely not alone with this program. And I think that was one of the things that really helped me the first couple of years for sure.
Oh, that makes total sense. That's another good point to emphasize as well, is that the graduate coursework that you're taking is specifically tailored to what you're teaching. So at least there is that relevancy as well of, yeah, it's hard to learn all this, but it's also making my job easier at the same time. So, it's hard on one end, but it's making it easier on the other. Perfect. And then if no one else has anything they want to add, we could definitely get to that last question as well. I think this is one that's going to be super popular. I kind of want to change the last question to kind of tailor it back again to the workload. What kind of tips do you have for candidates considering the program but are concerned about the workload of full-time school and full-time teaching? Because I know that's always the scariest thing for any applicant. I'm sure you all can agree as well.
I would just say that, there's many people that are going to join you on this journey, right? You'll have a coach, you'll have a teaching academy director. Once you're in your school, you'll have a mentor who's assigned to you. So I would just say, rely on their expertise. Those people have been selected through a very specific process because they are invested in helping you grow and develop and be successful. And then in addition, as my fellow panelists have shared, the cohort model is really important. So you will remain connected with those people throughout those 2 years of coursework. So working with them and using each other as resources, I think, is really important in balancing the workload with your personal life. And then I also just always tell teachers, even experienced ones, build in intentional time for yourself. It doesn't just happen. And I don't think you can be great for kids unless you're good to yourself also. So make space for whatever that might be for you.
And I just want to add as well, the old quote, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? Once you get started, once you get that ball rolling, things will work out. The graduate professors at the schools, they know they're in the evening classes with a whole bunch of people who just taught all day during the day. So by the time you get to the graduate school, everybody's tired. The professors typically are not burdening you with too much work, so it's doable. And the other thing you got to think about is this. Other people have done it. Other people have accomplished it. People with children have accomplished it. People without children, young, old, doesn't matter. So if they can do it, you can do it. You just got to want it.
I think you just put that perfectly. Overall, put that perfectly. One step at a time. That's how it starts. And also, just like you said, this program's been running for 20. This is going to be our 26th year, and we only get bigger every year. There's a reason why. It's effective, it works, and it's realistic. If this was a program where people couldn't do it and it wasn't realistic to do both, we wouldn't see these numbers climbing, and we wouldn't be here 26 years later. So that's a great point. Everyone in front of you, except for me, sorry, I'm the outlier, has done it, and they did it at a time. And for some of us, they did it at a time when technology wasn't where it is now. So it was a lot harder to study. It was a lot harder to get things done, and it was a lot harder to navigate. For some of our alumni that joined the program in the early 2000s, you didn't even have GPS. You had to just figure it out. You had to go figure out how to get there. I don't know what train it is. I got to memorize this. That alone is a challenge we don't have now. If you want to go find the notes, you wasn't going on Google. You know what I mean? You didn't have Spark Notes to go figure out what this book means. So again, just like you said, people have done it. They did it in harder times. People have done it during COVID when they were battling an epidemic. Now we're doing it, in 2026. Still going to be hard, but still also going to be doable. So I love that you ended off that question on that note, Jalik, that it's doable. It's been done. Don't worry about it. You're going to navigate it. And thank you for the insight too about the professors. That's a good point that we don't emphasize enough in this program. Everyone in this program that you encounter knows you're a fellow and knows your cohort is full of fellows. So no one's treating you like, oh, it's Joe Schmo. I don't even know what he's been doing, but he looks tired today. I don't care. They all know these are people that are dedicated to becoming teachers. They're dedicated to helping New York City public schools, and they're trying to do one of the hardest tasks that there is out there, work a full-time job and go to school at the same time. We all know that's hard, but you have this support. So perfectly put.
If I could add before we move on, there's a lot of questions about if the coursework is hybrid, remote, or in person. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it depends on the school that you're enrolled at. For me, I went through the program during COVID, and so most of it was remote the first year, and then the second year it was a hybrid schedule. And so, luckily I had GPS and I had, WhatsApp and stuff to communicate with my professors. But I still had to commute from the Bronx all the way to, the Brooklyn Bridge. So it's the mindset that you need a growth mindset. You can't focus on, the deficits or have a negative mindset about this.
Absolutely. And Elizabeth, you were spot on there as well. It does depend on your program, depends on your subject area, and even within the subject area, it depends on the school you are enrolled in. But for clarity, oh my God, I can't speak. The remote, hybrid, or in-person model for the program, it is not a choice up to fellows. It is not something that we just open up and see first come, first served. It is entirely dependent on your graduate program and what that looks like. So some programs may offer hybrid, some may still offer remote, and some may say, no, you have to come in here for 5 days a week. So either way, it'll vary, but either way, it's the same goal, same ends, and it's still as difficult as anyone else's experience. So.
And if I may, just make a distinction that there is a difference between your summer training and your graduate coursework. So while it may be up to the university based on availability, whether you're hybrid, remote or not, the 7-week summer training program is in person. No questions asked. That summer training, we need you there in person from whatever time to whatever time. The exact dates and times haven't been listed for this upcoming cohort, but for the 7-week training, it is for sure in person. Just don't want anybody to get confused.
And we should be used to that. We're already almost 6 years out from COVID, so we all know everything's going back to in person slowly but surely. Not saying I'm happy about it, man. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm happy about it, but I'm just saying it is going back to in person. I know we all loved staying home, but life goes back to normal. All right, I think after that we can move on to the next slide, where we'll go in a little bit more into the master's degree program and give you some of the technicalities and the logistical information about it. So one of the biggest benefits of the New York City Teaching Fellows program is that New York City Public Schools, New York City Public Schools subsidizes your master's degree. So we subsidize most of the cost of the tuition for your master's degree in education. Each fellow is expected to be responsible for about $12,000 of that master's degree. And although this has not yet been finalized, so tuition could be subject to change depending on what those final numbers come to. but last year's number was 12,000. This tuition cost excludes books, it excludes materials, and any additional coursework needed to meet state requirements. This amount is deducted from the fellows' regular paycheck once they begin teaching full time. So fellows do not have to take out any student loans or write up any checks or anything for their master's degree. On average, it takes fellows about 2 to 3 years to complete their degree. And that's typically how long the increments are taken out of your paycheck once you start full time. To offer a little clarity, I just want to highlight it again. Because the master's degree is subsidized, there is no upfront cost to joining the program. There's no upfront cost to the master's degree. So you don't have to take out a loan and then pay us back slowly. It's not like that. It's not like we take out a loan in your name. It isn't like that either. We subsidize the master's. Fellows are responsible for about 12,000 of that, and that'll be taken out of your paycheck pre-tax. I like to emphasize pre-tax over the course of the 3 years that you'll be completing your master's slowly. So it's not like we take out $1,000 a month and we pay it off in a year. No, okay. That'll be typically the payment increments for our fellows are about like $150 to $200 a paycheck pre-tax. And again, that's over the course of a couple years. So it's not like, you're going to feel it all in one shot. I just emphasize the pre-tax because that is really a big benefit, because at least, it's not impacting your, annual tax numbers and stuff like that. Now, while the university partners for the 2026 programs are not finalized, our previous partners have included Pace University, Hunter College, LIU, Relay, Graduate School of Education, City College, Lehman, Brooklyn College, and the list just goes on and on and on. Fellows are assigned to a specific university based on their specific subject area, location, and university capacity. So please note that fellows are not able to choose their university program, as we previously mentioned. All fellows must complete a master's in an education program, even if they have earned a master's degree in the past, which is what we mentioned before. Any relevant coursework that you may have taken prior to becoming a fellow will not transfer over. Just want to make that clear again. Any previous coursework you've taken at the graduate level, it will not help with the fellows program in terms of credit. It will not transfer over. It will not expedite your process. You're starting fresh with the fellows master's, especially considering it's subsidized. We make sure all fellows are on the same track, same amount of time, same amount of credits needed to complete the program. Just going to check real quick and take a pause to see if we have any questions about that I should put on blast. Sorry if you hear me sniffling. It's that time of year, everybody. I know we're all in the same boat. If it takes more than 3 years to complete your master's, are there any consequences? As long as you are continuing with, it depends. So if it takes more than 3 years in the sense of you're failing multiple classes and things like that, just like we mentioned before, we follow all the guidelines of our graduate program partners. And in any regular graduate program, you're not allowed to fail semesters. You're not allowed to get failing grades or, pull all Ds and go through with the program. That is not dependent on us. That's dependent on you and the graduate program you have. So if the graduate program is taking you longer because you're not passing classes, and it gets to a point that the graduate program decides to drop you from the coursework, that is your own fault. You will be removed out of the program, and there won't be consequences as in like punishment, but you will be removed from the program. Absolutely. If the coursework is taking longer, it would really depend on the scenario, and that'd be something that maybe we'd have to go into Zendesk to clarify. But typically, fellows take 2 to 3 years. There's not really a scenario where it would take more than 3, at least by a long shot. Because as a reminder, we tailor the coursework for you. We tailor the track for you. So it's a pretty standardized time schedule for how long it takes fellows to complete the coursework. Because again, if your timeline is getting delayed because you're failing courses, eventually that will lead to you being dropped from your graduate program, which will in turn lead to you being dropped from the fellowship. So in reality, and for the most part, most fellows will complete it in 2 to 3 years. What if the coursework is fully, I'm sorry, I didn't see that question. I didn't have enough time. There's a lot of questions here. Darrell or anyone, do you see any questions you think I should put on blast? Or?
Yeah, maybe a question one of our recruiters can speak to, but someone asked, how does the training it's not just you, Jacob. How does the training that you get in a 7-week training course compare to actual teaching? How prepared does it really get you, honestly?
I can start this one. So you will train in a real New York City public school with real New York City public school students. It is during summer school, so there are some differences, of course, between summer school and the regular school year. But for me, this is one of the things that makes our program stand out because it is very hands-on preparation. You'll be paired with a New York City public school teacher who will coach you during this process. I think summer school is typically a little more relaxed. There's typically maybe less students in a classroom, but you know, the fundamental nuts and bolts of teaching are the same, right? What is good teaching? What is good classroom management? How do you teach and explain content to students? Those things are fundamental and they can be learned in a summer setting or in the regular school year. So I do think it's kind of a bit of an on-ramp because the summer is a little bit more relaxed, but I do think it's one of the only programs available that really provides you with that hands-on access that helps you be really prepared for the fall.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Catherine.
I mean, I'd also just say that you're paired with a full-time teacher in the classroom, and so they're going to give you a lot of tips and tricks onto what works in their classroom, and you know, you can model it right then and there, and you can take that with you to your full-time teaching in the fall. So I think you really get a lot of support from the teacher that you're with working in the summer school classroom as well.
And additionally, you're going to have someone come into the classroom to evaluate your teaching. After the coach has worked with you, you're going to have someone to come in to evaluate your teaching and then give you feedback on how to improve. And that's actually something that I did for the first time this past summer. And I thought it was a great experience for the fellows.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And if there aren't any more for now, Jacob, I think we can keep going.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of personal questions, so we'll leave those to the chat. All right, moving on. One of the benefits of, I think, sorry, there was a little bit more on that last slide that we can elaborate more.
Oh, sure. Sorry about
that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Darrell, that's my apologies.
You're good, man. You're good.
Sorry, it has been a long day, everybody, and I'm not feeling too well as shows. I'm trying to hide it, but it's not going too well.
You're a trooper, man. You got it.
Let's get into the 2026 New York City Teaching Fellows subject areas. So this is the more exciting part where we get a real idea of what's on the table and what you can expect to apply for. So here you'll see a list of the high need subject areas that we will be offering for the summer of the 2026 program. Their eligibility requirements are also included as well, so you have an idea, but we'll just go through the list really quickly. Science is a big one. We always have sciences. We have math, we have special education. We have a new subject area called Students with Disabilities Moderate to Severe Autism, partnered with the AIMS program. We'll go a little bit into that as well. We have ENL, English as a New Language, which is very common, very popular one. Bilingual education, very common, very popular one, and Spanish language. So to go a little bit more in depth in terms of science and math, for the eligibility of both of these subject areas, there's two options. If you want to go in as a straight science or a straight math fellow, you would need to have either a bachelor's degree in math or science, or 30 credits or above in that selected field. So if you're applying for the math subject area, you will need 30 credits or above in specifically math coursework. So it has to be from the math department. We specify that because some people ask, if I took theories of math or, some kind of coursework that involves math, but it's not from the math department, that credit will not count. Same goes for science. If you took a coursework that involved science and maybe had science in the name, but it was not from the science department, that credit will not count, okay? For science and math, we do offer an immersion program. So we offer the math immersion program and the science immersion program. For our immersion programs, fellows will only need at least 12 credits with a C or above in the specified field, and they will be eligible for the immersion program. So if you wanted to apply for the science immersion program and you have 12 credits in some kind of science, you took Chem 1, Chem 2, Biochem, and Physics, and they put you at 12 credits, you qualify for the immersion program. The biggest difference between the immersion program and the regular subject area program is that immersion fellows will start their summer training earlier, as it'll allot for more time and for more coursework for you to compensate for the missing credits that you need. So immersion fellows start earlier and they take college level coursework in their field to catch them up to hit that 30 credit state requirement to get certified in the selected field. Now for special education and the other subject areas there, the requirements tend to vary a little bit, but you can see them all down below. Typically for some of our subject areas, it's just 12 credits within the selected field. So if you want to be a Spanish language teacher, same thing, either it'll be same as the math and science, either you have 30 credits in Spanish or Spanish literature with a grade C or higher or above, and you can go right into the program, or you can be an immersion fellow and have at least 12 credits in Spanish or Spanish lit with a C or above, and you qualify as well. And you can see the rest of the requirements for our programs here as well. The new subject area is AIMS, which is super exciting because it's been about over 10 years since the fellows have offered any subject area program that has to do with early childhood education, but this one does. So the new students with disabilities and moderate to severe autism, it certifies you for grades K through 2, which is something that we haven't done in a long time. This program will also be counted as an immersion program. So your training will start earlier. That way you're getting the most in-depth support and training on how to handle students with severe to moderate autism. And for this subject area, the minimum requirement is that you have a bachelor's degree, which is the requirement for the program as well. I know I saw a question in the chat about what are some of the more popular subject areas. And I want to open the floor a little bit because I know that's something that people want to know. Some of the more popular subject areas, special education tends to be a very popular one very frequently. Bilingual education tends to be a very popular as one. And Darrell, correct me if I'm wrong, but ENL typically is a very popular subject area as well.
Yes, those are also very popular. But I believe, and maybe our first info session or the second, I forget, but math and science were pretty high up there too.
So basically, they're all going to be popular. And that's why we really emphasize in our info sessions and our in-person events, the New York City Teaching Fellows does submit applications on a rolling basis. So the sooner you apply, the better your odds are, because once a subject area fills up, there's nothing we could do about it. Once the spots are gone, you will not be selected for that area, and we'll fit you where you fit. So if you have a specific one in mind and you want to go for that, make sure to apply earlier. So now that I'm done yapping, let's turn to our teacher recruiters so they can speak a little bit on their subject area and their certification experience, kind of how that went, what it was like, and what they felt like the coursework was like going through the program. So before anyone talks, just again, remind everybody what's your subject area so we know exactly who we're talking to.
Hey everyone, my name is Melissa Fleming. I'm a high school Spanish teacher. My certification is Spanish 7 through 12. And I had a bachelor's degree in Spanish when I graduated from undergrad.
So I'm certified in chemistry and general science for grades 7 through 12. In undergrad, I majored in chemistry and minored in biology, so it was really no surprise to me that I pursued the sciences. As I mentioned, I was interested in pursuing medicine. So, but I've seen a lot of things in the chat, and just to mention it here for the group, some people are like, well, what about social studies? What about ELA? And if you feel really passionate about those content areas, you'll notice they're not listed here. But I would encourage you to consider special education, because often special educators have more flexibility in the content they teach. So you could be certified in special education and enter a classroom with a lens of supporting students with additional needs, and then perhaps pursue a job search in a classroom where you're teaching social studies or English or a subject area that's maybe not represented here.
For me, when I was a kid playing school, I always loved to teach math, right? And when I took my business degree, I only had 12 credits in math. I took like calculus 1, pre-calculus, and calculus 2, I think, or maybe even less than that. I don't know, but it was just 12 credits. Thank goodness for the math immersion program, because as Darrell mentioned, I believe it was Darrell, basically there's a 2-week program where they you get a whole bunch of math credits in that 2 weeks, which allows you to kind of catch up and become a math teacher. So that's what I did. And right now I'm a middle school math teacher, thanks to that immersion program. So that was very helpful for me.
I want to pause really quickly too, just to go a little, ask you a little question about the immersion program. How was that immersion program? Like, was it kind of a lot at the time? Did it make sense? Was, for someone that was already interested in math but needed that immersion program, did it feel doable and like it was right? Or did it feel like, oh, wow, this is a lot, but, I feel doable?
Very doable. What they did was basically they would give us, like we would take a 3 credit class in like a day or a day and a half, because there's a certain number of hours you have to put in, so they had to meet that requirement. And to be honest with you, the it wasn't as rigorous as like a regular 3 credit course, but they did meet the requirements, and we got through it. We worked together, we worked in groups and things like that, and we all sort of, I think all of us kind of got through that program, the immersion program. So it's doable, it's supportive, and as long as willing to put in the work, it's definitely doable.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Elizabeth. In my undergrad, I have a Bachelor of Arts in Environmental Science. Currently, I have my certification in special education, general 7 through 12, and also earth science 7 through 12. And I'm sorry, what was the question?
Sorry, no, there was a question, but you just to tell us your area it was and kind of how that experience was for you in terms of getting certified.
Yeah, so at Pace University, I was part of the dual certification program for special education and biology. However, at my school that I'm currently in now, I was hired as a special education teacher. And then while I was there, I pursued my certificate in earth science. And so that's what I currently teach now. And it was with the credits that you have, and also your grad school will nominate you to be able to take certain tests and licenses, especially for STEM courses. They can nominate you, okay, if you're teaching math more or physics, they might nominate you to be able to teach math, right? And you'll get a nomination from your grad school to do that. It's fairly straightforward. You take specialized exams called CSTs, and they're content specified tests, and then you have to pay a fee, and it's a very straightforward process, in my opinion. For me, it was very, very smooth sailing to earn my certificate in earth science without initially going to school for earth science or geology or anything like that.
That's a great point. I was just speaking to someone in the chat who was like, oh, there's no phys ed. They wanted to be a phys ed teacher. And I told the person, I said, hey, listen, get your special ed, become a special education teacher so you can be in a classroom when you finish up your master's. You could, like you said, Elizabeth, you can always go back and earn additional certifications and go to phys ed if you want to, but at least get in the door.
Yeah, get your foot in the door. And listen, like STEM, SPED, bilingual licenses, like you will be the golden goose at your school, right? Like this is always in high demand. And like everyone has been saying, if you feel like you're more drawn to the humanities or English or social studies, you can qualify for special education. And then, like that was said, get your foot in the door, and then that opens pathways for you to earn other certificates or other licenses. And then you can be even more involved or marketable elsewhere.
Yeah, and to that point, to the whole foot in the door concept, most people will get a job in a schoolhouse doing, guidance counseling or paraprofessionaling. Can you hear me? Good. All right, cool. Most people do it that way, right? But you guys are getting your foot in the door certified. All right, you're getting in, you're having a 7-week training program, you're going to school, getting your degree, and then when you're in the classroom, you are a teacher. And we have fellows who started off as science or started off as math, and now they're APs, or now they're principal, or now they work in central office, or some are phys ed, some are theater teachers, some are art teachers. Like you can expand what you're certified in with this program does not limit the capabilities or the potential of your career by any means. So if you don't have the subject area available, or if you don't get chosen for the one that we have available, don't fret. You may have to pivot a little, but we still have boundless opportunity for you. So thank you to you guys for that.
And talking about that, Darrell, real quick, talking about opportunities, as Darrell, as you guys know, the current chancellor, was a New York City Teaching Fellow. The top person in the whole thing started the same way. So,
Yep. Yep.
There's
Jalik
also
got in, math teacher, wife. Chancellor got in, subject area chancellor. You know, who knows? Who
right.
knows? Who knows?
there's also a lot of questions about, and maybe if somebody holds a bilingual license or is very familiar, maybe Melissa, is bilingual education only for Spanish, or can you get your bilingual license in other languages too?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that you can get your bilingual education other licenses, but I think for the fellows program, Spanish is the one that's offered.
Yes, to Melissa's point, right now the other foreign language that we have, well, other language that we have aside from English is Spanish. In the past, we have had Arabic or French or Mandarin, but the reason it's only Spanish right now is because each year we take a look at our boroughs, we look at our schools, and we see what subject areas are the most high need. What subject areas are we going to need teachers for years and years and years to come? And for right now, when we're looking at our student body, when we're looking at the teachers needed, Spanish as it relates to foreign language is the most high need. So we're definitely trying to cater to the city's needs. Depending on what happens between now and next cohort, it could be another language, but it's all based on what's happening in real time. That's why what you see now may look different than what you see then, because we're in a different time.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna have more opportunities to ask questions, but in the interest of time, I think we continue.
Yeah, for sure. We can move on to the next slide where we will actually be going into some more questions, some more frequently asked questions that we typically get in our meetings. So, life in New York City public schools, and we're going to open the floor back up to the recruiters. I know you all just got off the camera, but welcome back. We need you. The two main questions that we're going to focus on this one is, what types of professional development and growth opportunities are available in New York City public schools? And then also, what are some of the proudest moments of your teaching career? Let's start with the first one, because I know the second one, everyone's going to have something to say. So, what types of professional development? Yeah, go ahead.
There's so much. Like, it's crazy how much professional development, and professional development is not just you sitting in the library listening to, you know, someone from the district talk about whatever, right? Or I mean, that's part of it, but there's so many other wonderful opportunities, opportunities for teachers to travel for free through certain programs, opportunities for you to visit, you know, aquariums and zoos, and you know, go on domestic trips or something for free, or, you know, I mean, you have to apply for these things obviously, but even through your school, through your network, through the district, there's always professional opportunities. Sometimes you might have to seek it out specifically, but other times, you know, if you have a really strong school community, those opportunities come to you. You know, cold email people, work with universities. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for professional development.
And as far as growth, sorry. There you got it, sorry.
I was just going to say there's a lot of collaboration with professional communities as well. So the professional development is not just going to be through New York City Public Schools, but it could be through Gilder Lehrman, who's really great with social studies, or you know, the aquarium, which would be for science. There's really great opportunities for New York City Public Schools. Additionally, like beyond being just a teacher in the school, there are other pathways that you can kind of add on while you're teaching. You can be the school's programmer if you're in a high school. You can be a teacher leader where you're a model teacher or mentor teacher to a new team that's coming on. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of grow and develop yourself as a career teacher, you know, during and after the fellows program.
And also within the Department of Education, you know, it's the biggest agency in New York City. So there's fields in every single sector. So there's a legal department, there's an accounting department, there's a custodial department. There's all these departments that once you become a teacher and you start growing and start looking around, the opportunities are truly endless.
I'm sure you're saying heat, Jacob. We just can't hear you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just to add on to that. She's not here today with us, but Jarell and I's boss, Melissa Castro, different Melissa, she is also an alumni of Teaching Fellows from back in the day. And she's now the program manager of New York City Teaching Fellows, working at Central, running the program, running the recruitment cycle, hiring all these beautiful people that are with us today, hiring me and Darrell as well. So, you know, and she started off just like everyone here, you know, still interested in the program, applied to Fellows, got in, and 15, 20 years later, now she works for Central in a corporate job running the program herself. So, and again, the chancellor, you know, the chancellor is a chancellor now. I don't even know how you become a chancellor, but she is one. So, exactly. Any other thoughts on professional development and growth opportunities? If not, I know we're probably all excited to share some of the proudest moments of your teaching career, and don't be shy, like really gloat about it. Like now everyone's quiet. Oh, I don't know what's my best moment. What's one of the best moments then? Not the best, one of.
I think for me, it's just you never really know the impact, which can sometimes be hard in the moment. But I've had like many encounters with former students, like on the subway or like walking down the street. Like last year, I saw a student I taught in 2014. And she came up to me on the one train and she's like, oh my God, are you Miss Calogero? I study science now. And like, you just really never know who you are impacting. And like, those are the moments that keep you in this work, right? You want to do right by kids and help them access whatever they want to do in their futures. So I would say, you know, just like when you get to see maybe the impact that you didn't know existed in that moment.
I would say building the personal connections with the students. As a high school teacher, I get really excited when the students ask me for a letter of recommendation. It just makes me really happy. And then again, as Catherine said, kind of running into former students or the children of former students. It's just kind of amazing to be just part of the community.
All right, perfect. I'm not going to force anyone else to share their stories. Those were great enough. But yeah, so with that, Darrell, you see any questions you think we should shout out before we move on to the next slide?
Well, we'll have a Q&A for the end, so we're good.
Okay, cool. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Melissa Fleming.
All right, so I'm really excited because I get to talk to you about the New York City Public Schools benefits. A couple of things that you guys can see on this slide. The starting salary for New York City teachers for the 26-27 school year will be $68,000, $902. But then about a week later, September 14th, the base salary will actually increase to $71,314. And if you're offered a spot in the 2026 cohort, you'll receive detailed information about salary steps and the UFT contract during the enrollment process. You can also scan the QR code on the screen or visit the UFT website anytime to look at the salary scales and the benefits. And if you already have an advanced degree, like a master's degree, you may qualify for a salary differential, which will actually impact and get your salary higher. However, since our office can't provide exact salary estimates, if you have prior experience or additional degrees, you can check the UFT website or contact HR Direct or Contact Connect for more information. In addition to competitive salary, New York City teachers can also enjoy a comprehensive benefits package that includes health insurance, it's pretty good, membership in the United Federation of Teachers with dental, vision, and prescription coverage, pension enrollment, and access to a wide range of discounts and promotions. Not too bad. The selection process for the New York City Teaching Fellows is a 3-step process. I know some people are in the questions asking about this. There's the online application, the phone interview, and then the virtual selection day. During the online application, you'll provide basic information about yourself, as well as your resume and unofficial undergraduate transcript. At the online application stage, we want you to put a voice to your experiences. Tell us what makes you unique and why your background would make you an effective classroom teacher. During this stage, you'll also let us know which subject areas you prefer. We encourage you to be open to subject areas and we'll consider your eligibility and preferences when determining subject area placement. Again, if you're interested, definitely put more than one, the ones that you're interested in teaching. Applicants from foreign universities must obtain a course-by-course evaluation of their transcripts in order to submit a complete application. This process can be very lengthy, so if you're interested, definitely want to make sure you're starting that course-by-course evaluation now if you haven't already. During the phone interview, applicants will have the chance to talk with the New York City Department of Education educator and role play different scenarios to see how you deal with challenges teachers often face in the classroom. And then finally, if you've moved on to the final stage of the application, applicants will participate in a virtual interview where they're asked to present a 5-minute lesson to a group of other candidates acting as students. After everyone has presented their lesson, applicants will participate in a skill building session similar to the one that they'd experienced during summer training. During the skill building session, applicants will learn a concrete teaching strategy, like how to check for understanding, and have an opportunity to practice it. Coaches are also available and will provide feedback on each candidate's lesson. At the end of this event, after you've done the 5-minute teaching, applicants are asked to then reteach their lesson, applying the feedback and new skill that they've learned. It's important to note, we're not looking at this point for polished, perfect teachers. What we really want to see is that you can convey an idea in 5 minutes and can apply feedback and new skills in order to improve. All candidates are provided ample resources like sample lesson plans and video examples, and you are required to teach a lesson in your assigned subject area. I think that's a little bit, and we're going to pause for questions.
Okay. I'm just checking, see if there's anything common that we're seeing. I saw someone asking about subject preferences, if they could choose their subject area. Melissa, I don't know if you want to take that one.
Yeah, so during the application process, you can definitely list the subject areas that you're interested in teaching and that you're qualified to teach, that you're eligible to teach. But ultimately, the Fellows program, you will be assigned a subject area where the Fellows need you most, where the city of New York needs you most.
Awesome, thank you. And let's see.
I'm not seeing any other too big questions.
Yeah, we can save them from him. We can continue on. Awesome.
Cool. So as you heard before, the Fellows application is open. It is, you guys can submit tonight if you're interested. If you plan to apply, it is helpful to know what sort of documents you'll need to prepare in order to submit a complete application. And the sooner you prepare, the sooner you can complete the application. So you will need to have a resume. Make sure it's no longer than 2 pages. And a great thing is that you do not need a cover letter for this application. You'll also need to request or gather transcripts from any institution of higher learning you attended as an undergraduate. And this also includes transfer credits if that's you. Unofficial transcripts are 100% okay, but if you don't have access to that, you may need to request an official transcript. This is something that you can secure now, as this can take some time. And with these transcripts, please do not mail them to the New York Public Schools. We're not going to accept them, or we're not going to get the mail. So with these documents, you will be able to upload the transcripts and the documents directly onto your application. And again, just to reiterate, if you earn a degree in a foreign country, you will need a course-by-course evaluation, and your degree must be evaluated by a professional company. Generally speaking, submitting your master's degree transcript is optional, so you don't have to, but we highly recommend that you do so. Also, if your undergraduate GPA falls below a 2.5, but you've earned at least a 3.0 GPA in a master's degree program that you've completed, you will be required to submit your master's transcript in order to be eligible. And with all that information, I'm going to pass it over to Darrell.
Yes, thank you so much, Melissa, for all that information read so eloquently. Yeah, guys, so just want to stay on here for a second before we move on, because we do have a lot of uniquely qualified individuals who studied abroad and became teachers abroad and got certified abroad. We would love it if you can bring your talents and your skill set here to the States. But for my individuals who earned their bachelor's and got their certifications overseas, we do need you to get that course by course evaluation. And the reason, like Melissa put, is the reason why it's so important is because the course by course evaluation could take some time to get done, and anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, I believe. And so the last thing we'd want you to do is wait until the last day of the deadline to decide to submit. But turns out now you need to submit a course by course evaluation, because what happens then is that your application will not be considered complete until we get it, which means that while you're waiting, you could miss a deadline. Heck, you could even miss a second deadline, depending on who you choose, their availability, how much capacity they have. So that is the last thing we want to be the reason as to why you missed a deadline, why you missed an application, or why you missed this cohort. So please, if you haven't done so already and are in need of one, go to our fellows website, look at the list of partners we use. You can just in the search bar type in course by course evaluation and look at all of the partners we use to make sure that they can see your transcript to show you are approved, so that we can push your application along to our selectors, excuse me. And then just
to piggyback off that too, really quick, Darrell. I saw a question about if you should apply before your course by course evaluation is completed. The answer is no. You can apply if you'd like to for some reason, but your application will be placed on hold until we get that course by course evaluation. So your application won't be looked at as completed. What that means is it will not be reviewed. Nothing will be done with your application until you complete it. It will just sit there in the eternal abyss of application hold until you submit that course by course evaluation. So as a reminder, submit the course by course evaluation first and then submit your application.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because one thing for us is we want to pick the most qualified, the most well-rounded, the best educators for our students, and for the selectors. We hear all the time, we're not selectors, we're recruiters. But for our selectors later on in the process, we hate it when they come to us and be like, yo, I found this dope teacher, they're so interested, they're so energetic, but they don't have their course by course evaluation. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait till next year. That hurts for us, that hurts for the candidates. So please, guys, just make sure you have all your documents in order so that we can really give you a fair shot at getting this, especially if we know you'll do great, and which is probably most of the people on this call. And so just to reiterate that the early action deadline, since we're speaking about that, is December 19th at 11:59 p.m. You have until December 19th, 11:59 p.m. to submit your application for this first deadline. This recruitment season will go into the spring. But if you want to make sure that we consider your preferences, if you want to make sure we consider your preferences for subject area, for where you want to teach, for anything like that, please submit by this early action deadline, which is December 19th at 11:59 p.m. So that means that at 9 a.m., that's not the deadline. 3 p.m., that's not the deadline. 5 p.m. is not the day. You have until 11, all of December 19th to submit this, guys, because we do have questions, believe it or not. And please, for those of you who wanted the link, and if we didn't get a chance to write you in the chat, visit us, nycteachingfellows.net, and click apply now. Apply now. That's how you find the application. If you say, Darrell, Jacob, Melissa, everybody on the call, I'm ready to get started. How do I do it? You you visit us on nycteachingfellows.net, you click apply now, and then you will have the application and begin your next journey